have something like this, you may find it may work its way into our Compass Rose, because we're thinking about on a monthly basis having. Yeah, that's fantastic. Anyways, and it's Irene Tompkins. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I know exactly where you are. Yeah, so. That's well, I've knocked on your door once or twice.
Was I there?
I think you were.
I ran a business for 35 years, 307 days.
Who's counting? You know, it's like yesterday. Yeah, nice. Yeah, I think so. Yep. Well, we need to get started. We're about 5 minutes behind. Wow. He is absolutely gonna love these. He's into that. So just a little sidebar before we start is there's a bucket of small little trucks and things like that in recognition that I have a 16-month-old, I'd say the cutest blonde-haired, blue-eyed baby boy that's there, but I'm not biased at all. So he's our grandson, and we watch him during the day. And my wife Kathy has been very, very much taking him down to the David Braun Park, feeding the ducks, doing a lot of the things along that line, and. We have our hands full with him, but I think people realize we've had our hands full with a lot of family stuff here with Caroline, with Wayne, and now my son. I think people have heard blew out his knee and is at home with us because he can't walk or take care of himself right now for the next 2 weeks. I'm glad. Retired a year ago. I don't know how I would have done this other than my wife does a fantastic job. So I appreciate all the things that people have done in recognition and helping us. And it's something that truly makes me proud that we're here in Nassau Bay together. So I really mean that. And it's very humbling. So I appreciate that. I don't know if you wanted to start off with some things, or
sure.
You got some of the thoughts. I'll add. I was at Methodist Hospital till about 9 o'clock last night. So.
Yeah. So the city's looking good. We started trimming crepe myrtles around the city. Reached out to the garden club for some guidance, Nancy, because we didn't know, we didn't want to be labeled as the crepe murderers, and so Nancy kind of gave them guidance of what to do. So we're starting at the entrances of the city, and that's what we typically do on any kind of project. We want entrances look good, and then the guys will branch out and go to different areas. But I had an email, asking, we could go to one area, but we like to stay at the entrance and the branch out, because it's not fair. We, start in Swan Lagoon, and then, it's not fair for everybody else in the city. So we like to do all the entrances first, and that's a gateway to the city. So we want to make sure it looks good. Yeah. We had a really good parks meeting Wednesday night. Came out with some good stuff. We got about some things we got to look at, beautify. Looks really good. Ordering some more signs that say "Keep Nassau Bay Beautiful." I think about 4 more signs we're ordering. Ordered 5 new benches for different parks. So everything is looking really good. Had a really good infrastructure meeting last night, and some of the things brought up were where you're, of course, going to be hitting the 4 miles of water line. We're going to do a sanitary sewer, the original sanitary sewer force main. And so we're replacing a section of that. We're going to do that in 3 phases over 3 years. So we're pretty proud of that. And then we're still looking into some drainage, trying to get some of this water up Upper Bay, and then back toward Prince Williams on the south side on Upper Bay. We're looking at that. And then, we're almost finished, completed with the, Brian, with the, what we're gonna be doing to make the repairs on a 36-inch storm line. We got a storm line that's the old galvanized, and it's just starting to come in. We've got it cleared, but it's yeah.
It's been deteriorating.
So it's about 200 feet. So I got with the engineers on that yesterday. So we're trying to finish that up to get some good prices. That's going to be a little pricey project there. The doing some work on Harbor Lane, some light work. We had some electrical issues. So matter of fact, I think they've got that. They had it set, poured, ran the electric, and then I think it should be activated today. We had the palm tree representatives come out and just double check our palm trees, make sure they're looking good. We're now it's starting to get warm. We're double checking all the irrigation, and we're also, we used to run the irrigation about 4 o'clock in the morning. We've changed that to now till about 6:30, 7 o'clock ish, because we don't know if they're working at 4 o'clock in the morning. And so you'll probably start seeing some water on the esplanades, but we want to make sure, the guys can drive around, make sure they're working. So we'll probably get a few complaints, but it's good to know that, the batteries are working on self-timers, and we're just making sure everything is just looking good. So we're double checking all that stuff. Got some concrete work behind Gloria Day. We have a storm line, a really big, I think it's a 36-inch line, maybe a 72.
I don't think it's that big.
Maybe a 36. So we're doing some repairs there. It was a project long ago, and some of the concrete is settled.
That right through the parking lot?
Yes, yeah. So
There's easily 8 inches.
Yeah.
It's a huge safety issue back there, and it's our line. That's yeah.
So we
Also guest parking, so make the trip.
so they're actually doing the demo now, and then we're pouring this morning, adding the water fountains. We're adding one at David Braun Park by the baseball fields. And we got the new water fountains, got ADA. I think that one has the bottle
Still
filler.
a stone type look and
Yeah.
stuff like that, but it's ADA.
And so,
on that track.
yeah, then, the concrete pads are only probably 2 foot wide. These are big concrete pads. And then we're also, right as you're walking down the path to get to the peninsula, maybe about 100 feet before the gate, we're pouring a pad there today. And then that will also have a nice water fountain. So I think we have 4 that we ordered. So we're getting those in. Pretty excited about that. And then next week we will start painting the golf cart lanes. And if you're not familiar with it, we'll put something on our website. But basically, you go in by the dog park with your golf cart on the right, walkers on the left, and then they'll swing back around. And then we're going to have six parking spots for golf carts. And so it's going to be kind of neat. You'll be able to park your golf cart, look at the baseball field, or look at the future soccer field.
Or soccer field. Yep.
Yeah,
Right.
and so, and that's going to be for golf cart parking only. We're going to order about 4 bike racks. We'll start putting some bike racks around the city. And so we're pretty excited about that. And then, then we'll do the signage out there. So we're got a lot of work going on. Chief's been working with Scott, the street supervisor. We're going to be putting more speed limit signs in. We're looking at making them maybe bigger. They're 18 inches. We're thinking about maybe going to 24 inches with the reflective around it. And then Chief's also looking at a solar speed limit sign that will flash in some of the areas that we know people speed at. So we just got a lot of good things in the work. 2 small water leaks popped up. My guys will be on them next week. And so great weather. Everything's starting to come up. Yeah. We got
So, you mind if I
Yeah,
come in
yeah.
a little bit? Is some of the things you're seeing with what Paul's saying is he's he's kind of ripping off the things, but what I can tell you is we are moving into from where we had corrected a lot of things that had been needing attention for a while to now we're going into some of the maintenance side of things. And what I mean that is, you know, if you look like down in Swan Lagoon, I'm not Swan Lagoon, the Founders Park, you can see they're starting to do the landscape and the tree trimming, the things, you know, things to open it up around trimmings and manicuring that just hasn't taken place. And we're focusing on the internal, but you're gonna see quite a bit of tree trimming, which includes the crepe myrtles. You're gonna see quite a bit of street sweeping. And you're gonna see quite a bit of curb replacement, not just curb repair, so that when we look at these things, it's going to have a manicured look to Nassau Bay, which I think we all like. It's gonna be the same thing with like the palm trees up, and I've asked a couple of people in the neighborhood from a variety of different folks, just, you know, how do the palm trees look? How, you know, I'm particularly focusing on down by the Hilton side where you come in to make sure we've got the right density, the right number. And I keep hearing that we probably need a few more than what we have, which is good. That means it's really, we're really trying to have the town kind of have the look and feel like I think a lot of us who've been here 55 years know and like. And Paul's doing a lot of good work because it's you know, these crepe myrtles, you know, they haven't been trimmed in a while, and you think it's just a couple of things here, but it is quite labor intensive. They've gotten to be quite big, and there's a lot of dead, you know, brush that has to, or things that have to be done. But boy, I can't wait to see those in like about 2 months, 3 months. They're going to be gorgeous. So you're seeing that. The other is you know, you heard me talk about how we've rearranged the budget to be able to have the funds, and right now Paul is really pushing for the implementation of the infrastructure work, and so you're going to see probably starting up, you know, midsummer, maybe a little bit later, where we are going to do the next tranche of the 4 linear miles of water distribution. The last piece of the puzzle, which causes, you know, the geysers to take off, that drive his crews crazy. And to me, I think there's very little value added of having guys dig holes to fix pipe. I'd rather have them doing other things like putting in water, you know, water fountains and beautification and things along that line. So you're going to see that, and not only that, it's going to definitely impact. I've heard several citizens tell me that between the old lines and the new lines, the clarity as well as the taste of the water. Forget about the well water. I don't want to get into that, but that it's just better. And that's what we want. And at the end of the day, when you're finished with your water distribution, we'll pretty much have completed over 2/3, maybe 3/4 of everything underground in the city. And that's been a high priority for me. So, because if we can get this past us, the cost of having to do this project work on Joe and Josephine Nassau Bay, it will be much lower, and we'll be able to do things to again just keep building for the better rather than replacing from the old. So that's what you have going on.
Yeah, and then we also been working with we got a grant writer on contract, so we are trying to get additional funds for things. I think we've got probably about 3 big projects.
Three big ones.
Probably totaling probably $4 or $5 million. So we're trying to get money for that.
Maybe a piece.
Yeah. Harris County reached out to me for any projects. I submitted 2, but I'm waiting to hear back on, it's a cost sharing, and typically ours is 30%. And so I'm trying to, and I met with Jaime and I was like, I don't know if we'll have, you know, an extra $1 million laying around. So I'm trying to see what if it's a 24 project or if it's a FY25. So we can kind of start planning and maybe putting a little money aside in case something like that comes up, because the, one was the replacement of San Sebastian east from Upper Bay. That entire road, back there between the apartments needs to be replaced. We're looking at another $3 million to, improve Upper Bay from Nassau Road 1 coming all the way into Space Park, everything underground. And so there's some really big projects, but, 30% we'd have to come up with. So we're gonna try to look at that. I've got probably about 6 more areas of the city I'd like to re-pour some concrete in. So Jaime's get me some numbers on that, see if I can squeeze any money from somewhere, so I can get some concrete poured. And Mayor mentioned, I think a couple of times back, we can use the water money for drainage also. So we're trying to really do different things.
Just to be clear, we have moved all flood mitigation under the water and sewer fund rather than in the general fund. So when you see things around piping putting in like that, that's going to go off water rates rather than your property taxes. And that was a very conscious decision to keep that from being a cost to property owners. So yeah, a lot of work. And again, just coming back to some of the things in the parks, you can expect to see at some point a new and refurbished pickleball courts, that walkway between that runs the whole traverse of the Swan Lagoon Park, where we've gotten ADA compliance for some of the playground equipment there. We're going to have ADA access through there. So that's, people in wheelchairs or people who are grandparents with grandchildren who need extra, like a golf cart or whatever, will all be able to have access. I'm really pushing, and I know Paul's looking at the cost associated with it, but I really want to replace the bathrooms in the David Braun Park. Those are atrocious in my mind. Doesn't even, I think I'm being gracious when I say it's atrocious. And the last you're going to see is, and you didn't make mention, is we were successful in getting the insurance claim for the basketball courts. You're going to see a whole new refurbished basketball court. Paul's taken the opportunity to refurbish each and every backboard as well.
Brand new.
Yeah, brand new.
Yeah.
And that's, so.
About $8,000.
Yep, and the rims, the nets, and all the things like that. And we've made a decision if for those who are familiar with the pavilion, the full court runs the whole gambit of the pavilion. And sometimes when you have when people are down there, it kind of blocks out, the total use except for that. So we're going to take, one half and make a full court on one half of the side. So that way it will allow the other half to be for things other than that. And so all that's going to be that's going to be coming up here shortly.
Yeah, actually, I believe they're meeting at 10 this morning with the contractor. We're going to stick with the same colors. We just got to get a different layout. And then our guys will do the fab work. We got a couple good welders on staff, so we'll be cutting back the basketball goal and then re-welding it and dropping it a little bit.
So it's gonna be a whole new deck all?
Repaint it, yes, yeah, correct, yeah.
It's actually recoating it.
Yeah.
Recoating.
Okay.
And then on the restrooms, the mayor mentioned, we'll be doing, our project manager, Elias, he's reaching out to different cities and see what is the newest restroom out there. And then he'll make a site visit. We're trying to see the newest technology. I don't know how much more technology you can get with toilets and urinals, but we're looking at all that. And then we'll be able to get with the contractor, maybe see who built their restrooms, and then try to get some good pricing on it. And the only challenge would be if we have to elevate anything and then just make sure it's ADA accessible and all that stuff. But a lot of good things. And one thing I did forget to mention, the art monument, the contractors will be mobilizing Monday. and then start tearing down Tuesday. So they're thinking probably about 2 days, 2 to 3 days to get everything down from there. So we've already disconnected the power. The box, I believe, is gone, the big electrical box. So we've been moving on that. So hopefully come Tuesday, that thing will be down.
Paul, will the basketball goals all be 10 feet or will any be
Just,
the shorter height for younger kids? I forget, what, 8 or 9
That's a
feet?
great question.
yeah, the one against the back wall, that's gonna be cut down for
Yeah.
whatever the kid's height is,
So-
yeah.
So let's even be more clear. Remember I said how the full court will be the half court, the length.
The
So
full
those
court
two.
will be cross court then?
Yeah,
What I would call cross-
I think I understand, but think of it, right now you've got two half courts
Right,
that run where the two ends are the 10-foot ones.
right.
That's going to change to where it's half. We're gonna lower the one by the road and the other one is going to be, on the other side, so it runs that half. And that's where the 10-foot ones are gonna be. Every other one is going to be, for the little kids. So, or correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that's right, yeah, we're just gonna take it right now.
So the conversation came up, I was talking to the neighbor the other day, of course, we have no sidewalks, we're on the middle of the road, nothing run by his property. With his blind dog and talking, and there's somebody came racing down the street, I said, slow down, will you? And he said, what are you talking about? I was going 26. I said, it's 25. But, did you have a radar gun? I said, no, but slow down, please. So the issue is that 25, I think 25 miles an hour in most of our city is way too fast. Considering we're all most of us, if we talk, we're on the road. So some of those areas that are very fast could have some slow down signs that are blinking also, because people are going over 25.
I'll say this, Jim, and there's two pieces of this, which is some of this is a hotly debated topic, but I believe that there should be more painting of the streets and delineates where pedestrians are there versus cars. So it's very clear that there's walking paths on the street or bike paths and things along that line. Would love to hear people chime in on that because I've heard people voice, strongly both ends to that, but I fall in the camp which says the more which we can give, tools to people driving that, where they shouldn't be driving is just to me good. And I also think it adds to the having newly painted, streets with all that, just I think look better than just.
Are you talking about crosswalks?
Well, there's definitely crosswalks, but I mean walking paths. I mean, like, where you have whatever the distance is on a road. I'll just pick one, Upper Bay Road, that you actually have things because people walk that, not only the boardwalk, but they walk that from the city and, in the streets.
And also like a bicycle path.
And that would be designated a bicycle pedestrian path on the street. So the things the other is, and you may have a situation where somebody was talking 26 versus 25, but I think we all know that we have people who speed through our city.
Well, my neighbor said.
Forget about whether it's 25, 26 on that one. I know people go 40 miles an hour
Exactly, and that's what
in
this
other areas.
My neighbor and I both agreed it was way over 26.
It's there. It's something Paul and I have talked about. The chief, the three of us are all looking at how we can be more, and I'll say it this way, to be more of a horse's patoot so that pedestrians have a safe place out there, that if somebody's going 40, they should get ticketed. And the way you change behavior on that is somebody has to pay a ticket. And I hate to say I'm being a little bit of a horse's patoot, but I think that's the right thing to do for a 2 square mile city. So, and I'm gonna push it. So, yeah.
2 points. One, the other day, I was pleasantly surprised when NASA Bay's finest pulled over a golf cart. And I was in total agreement with it. It was 2 adults with 2 children that looked to be about 18 months, 2 years old,
Yeah, so you're really young,
really young. They're all in the front of the golf cart.
no car seat,
No car seats, no seat belts, no anything.
no nothing, yeah.
And the male was scratching his head like, why are you stopping me? I felt like saying, I hope he throws a book at me.
I'm the same way, you know, I'm the same way.
That's the first time I
And that's
physically have
what we're,
seen someone in a golf cart getting, whether it was a warning or a ticket, but it's well deserved because I observed too much of that during the day.
I'm gonna say this, and maybe I'll give a warning to citizens on Nassau Bay, which is that this is going to be more and more of a discussion item. You know, we want to involve the guys because the officers, I do a great job, but we're trying to elevate what we tolerate, and what we don't. And I'm of the belief that we should, I'm with you, if I see kids have in my industry, we plan for failure to make sure you succeed even if you fail,
Yes.
right? And that's a good example of that, is if everything's fine as long as nobody hits them or anything like that. And they could be doing everything that and somebody could, for whatever reason, you know, lose control, hit them, and those kids would be hurt, you know.
It's one incident and everybody's up in arms.
You know, and
you know, we want that before that happens.
And not only that, the traffic up on Nassau Road 1 isn't going to get any better, folks.
Oh,
We've got, yeah, I know, but what I'm saying is you've got more and more people traversing through Nassau Bay because Nassau Road 1, but we've got Margaritaville coming in, you got Texas A&M coming in, you've got Great Wolf Lodge coming in, you've got, you know, other people building different things. You got the utilization of the Caroline across the street that's going up. You're just gonna see more people, and when it gets congested, they come through Nassau Bay.
Oh, I know they've done that ever since I moved.
So that's the other thing that I want to do is.
You don't do Space Park, especially when Nassau was at their peak.
Yeah.
Because this was the cut through 4 lights.
Yeah, it is.
And it hasn't changed.
And the way you change behavior like that is if somebody's doing, whether it's 26 or 30,
right,
they pay a fine and they get ticketed. And people, I mean, I'll just say this, where I'd like to see the city go is, you know, like if you're on Nassau Road 1 and you turn on Kirby where Arlen's and where the Berry Meat Market and the elementary school, even before the elementary school is there, if you went 50 miles an hour, you got a ticket. I mean, it's 45, they gave you 5 miles, but if you went 50, let alone 51, it was highly known. You mentioned what, Clear Lake Shores. You go a mile per hour over that, and everybody knows. Everybody knows. Well, I don't think we have that perception here in Nassau Bay for our streets. And if you go, you know, speed, you're going to get ticketed.
Right. Exactly.
And
the other question I have is, before we get too far away from the park situation, is there somewhere on your wish list where something is going to be done with our retention pond?
Yeah.
But not as a fish pond? Because my house is the one that takes the double whammy.
Paul and I, so this is a twinkle in our eyes right now, right? So let me.
I wish it was more than a twinkle.
Yeah, but we've got, we're spending $20 million between last year, this year, and next year. You know, and it might bleed over, so there's that.
But what I'm thinking is somebody look into FEMA because the retention pond was built for flood control.
Oh, you're meaning Lake Nassau.
Yeah, that's what you're meaning.
You're meaning Lake Nassau. I thought you meant the park like Swan Lagoon and the park like David Pond, which is our retention pond.
I'm talking about the
So
when we came in this way, went around, came that way and.
Great. I misunderstood you, so let me dance with you. That's more than just a twinkle in our eyes. So Paul mentioned about the grant writers and things along that line. We have 3 big projects, like the one for Point Lookout and Davon, all the way going out to Cal Bayou. We've got the electrification and pump upgrades all along Upper Bay Road.
Yes.
And we have a dredging of and major upgrade of pumping capacity for Lake Nassau,
Okay.
right? And right now, whether that's actually, of those 3, that's my top priority. And I would love to be able to provide for this community a true recreational lake that's 12 feet deep and provide the staff who do the water and flood control mitigation, because what you may not know is every inch of rain that falls across Nassau Bay, 95% of that goes into Lake Nassau, and it represents 3 to 4 inches of headspace
Right.
in that. And we can take it down 12 to maybe we really don't even want to go higher than 18 if a hurricane, but we really only can fight a 3-inch rain, right?
Yes.
Which go to, and if you have anything more than that, or if it's at a rate faster than that, we exceed the headboard down there, and we can it backs up through, it just backs up through the channel right up there between Martinique and Point Lookout, right? And it goes all the way. I mean, that is the artery that goes through that whole area. If we could drop that 4 feet, 5 feet in advance of things, or have a pump that is there, and I'm talking big pumps where we have 480, volt and, moving, 15,000 gallons per minute, so that if something happens, we can really fight it. We can prepare for it and we can fight it. And my belief is we got to do the engineering. It's already been tagged. We've got people going through, we're trying to get a grant. We believe that the easiest thing is to get the engineering. We'll then go for the grant there, but I'm looking, and I'll commit to you right now, whether we get a grant or not, that's going to be something I would want to do. And call it October 1, 2025. You talk to Jaime, we go really long on our water and sewer, and every bit of a flood mitigation project can be handled now through the water and sewer, through all our big commercial folks that pay for that, and that will not go against the city taxes. And I want to build it, and I believe I have the funds to do it. So, but it'd be that fourth quarter, starting in that fourth quarter, 2025, early 2026. And that's what we want to do. That's more than a twinkle. You can hear my passion here. I want to do that.
And we looked at the numbers, and we looked at every scenario about 5 years ago. The lake is an average of 3 feet, maybe 3.5. And we looked at taking out about 3 feet of spoil, and that would be about 1,000 18-wheelers being trucked out of the city.
Oh, yes.
And so one of the biggest problems is trying to find out where to take that at.
It's just the money for that.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you can take it to a landfill.
Yeah, that was like 1.5 million, and that was about 5 years. We're thinking it's probably gonna be about 2.5 right now.
Could we use some of that also to provide additional levee protection, especially along cow bodies?
So what we did on the last, we did 1,800 cubic yards twice, and we put them in the old baseball field and raised it up 18 inches. We had to get a no-rise letter certificate. And so we talked about that. I have to go back on my notes.
I'll chime in because I was involved. I'll tell you, we did that. One of the things is it knocks out the park's use for a period of time. And I would tell you, it smells like high heaven. I mean, it is as odoriferous.
It is
as odoriferous can be. And while I'm not saying the value of that there, but there are some real downsides to that. And we also have some, areas where, that is really, really soupy soil, right, as I like to say. And it drains, it's gonna drain just by gravity, but you'll see pockets of it go down. That's why that field is so, unleveled.
It took about 3 months before, because we did it like a drying bed.
Yeah.
And it took about 3 months before my guys can even get in with the backhoes. It was a real soupy, it's decomposition of plants and fish and all that. And then another thing was like, if we dredged one side, we'd have to
Just
do something with the aquatic life and then try to put it back, or just drain the lake and let everything die.
But it's
start
like
back over.
15 to 20% solids.
Yeah,
It's hard. I mean,
yeah,
it's
almost like a sewage drying bed, and it smelled for months.
But
and
what
months.
I would love to have, and that would be the time frame. And as you can see, I mean, we've gotten to the point is now that when we get past all this we can actually do things that really enhance Nassau Bay. And I consider that a true enhancement, where that pond would be one where you could swim in, where you don't hit the bottom of muck and things along that line. And that the folks who are on the perimeter where it is 2 feet deep, when it gets to be the hot July, August, you get an algae bloom that is horrendously odoriferous too. And it crowds out. We can also have fish kills. And you want to talk about, an unsightly thing, you got to manage a fish kill. And we got some pretty good fish in there right now.
Yes.
So I would love to see that as 12 feet, so he can have a water board of 4 feet or more and have a pump that would be able to really fight a rain so that we don't clog up the main artery of our drainage pond during a major event. I'm talking a major event.
Oh, yes.
We get a minor event and it hits us. So, I mean, I'd want to fight a major event.
And we get them.
We do. Thank you.
My question goes back to Upper Bay Road and talking about marking sidewalks or street crosswalks, all of that. For many, many years, people have wondered, is Upper Bay Road 2 lanes or 4 lanes? Cars, I mean, there's no divider.
Yeah, there's, and.
So when you're considering sidewalks, I think we need to consider, are we going to put a divider?
And just right now, I'm not considering a sidewalk, which I believe is concrete, but a walking area on the road.
Yes.
Do away with cars parked on the street?
I think there's some areas that you have to really look at that. I mean, I think you do. And I know that opens up, and I'm gonna hear it. I'm sorry, folks. I know I'm gonna hear it. But I think you have to look at that. You really do. And
It's a problem.
what I understand is that you have the ability to have 2 cars on each way, but it is a violation to pass on that. That's not meant to be a 2-lane thing. And I would rather have more, again, these are the tools. That's a good indication. People don't know what the intent of that road is. And a little bit of paint will not only make it look nicer, I believe, but it'll also clarify who owns what part of that road, pedestrians or vehicles. And I think those are really important things safety-wise.
Talking about the pedestrian path, how would you do it in front of the Catholic Church?
You see, to me, I would do it not in front of the Catholic Church, because I'm gonna give a long-winded answer, I'm sorry. If you look at the way the founders designed Nassau Bay, they had commercial and they had residential, and the churches were the transition area between the commercial and that. That's why you don't see a whole lot of tall buildings that are there. And that's something we've reinforced to make sure we stay that way, so that as you go from Nassau Road 1 in, you go through commercial to then like the church, and then you get into residential. That street that you're talking about is the intersection of the church area with the residents. I mean, Point Lookout, as you're heading south on I guess that's I always get this mixed up, east side has all the residents there. And I would put that path there. if you were asking me.
Well, that's the west side.
West side's got the residents.
The residents, yeah, that's what I said, is I'm going
West side.
to.
East side has it.
Yeah, I'm talking on this, I'm talking about that, and then the other one has a sidewalk, I was just gonna say that. But that parking also is very important to that church, too,
Yes.
on that street. You know, not that that doesn't create issues too, I know, but that's
Because
once a
they're
week,
allowed to park
but
on that same side as the church, but not on the opposite side.
Not on the
where
opposite,
houses are.
yeah, correct, not, and that's what I was getting, so that would be what I would think would be kind of what I call a straw man, a starting point, and then we'll throw tomatoes at it and see what makes sense.
I have one other question. How can we stop the cop from parking on that road? I mean, Port Logan, I have been almost hit 3 times. But people going around that.
Where on Point Lookout, you think?
Just before you get to San Sebastian.
Oh, you're talking about the state trooper, the DPS car.
All the time.
DPS car.
Oh,
That's his home.
that's his home, that's his home.
But his car on the sidewalk, on the street, presents a real problem.
But that's three
Depends on who we
houses
park
back.
on the street.
That's 3 houses
Yeah.
That's his home.
That's his home, and he moves it every day, so he complies with our ordinance.
He could park in his driveway.
But, and that's what, you know, and I'm gonna give credence to here, I hear that a lot, is that, you know, we have too many people who don't use their driveways and utilize parking on the street for everyday parking of their vehicles. And is that what we want? And, God, like I said, you guys are gonna get me killed. I believe that that's something we have to talk about, because I know particularly with some of the lifting of homes that we've seen, so you're talking about, you know, all the way from Nassau Bay Drive, you know, you come in and down, you know, down Barbuda, also all down through Upper Bay Road, that the way in which they lifted the houses and the way they did driveways have made it challenging for people to use driveways. And so they put all their cars out there. And I don't think that's really fair for the rest of the citizens. And I'm sure I'm using an example there, but I know there are other examples. So.
You know, I'm on the Architectural Control Committee for the Homes Association.
Yeah.
We're constantly getting requests to put more wider driveways spaced in.
Yeah.
So that people can park their cars in the driveway. Well, it just turns the whole front yard into a parking lot. And does that look nice? I don't know. But now compared to when this town was built, everybody has more cars.
They do.
Cars are bigger. So,
Yeah,
But
that was actually a good point. We did a parking survey about 2010, I think, when I first came on board. And a lot of the residents said, you know, back in the 70s, you know, you only had maybe 1 or 2 cars. And, you know, as a family now, you have, as soon as you turn 16, you get your kids. And so it went from a 1-car family to 5 or 6. And you're absolutely right. It was designed for one driveway car, you know, and so that was brought up actually.
Yeah. Is it better to put more parking on people's lots where they have 3 cars lined up in front of the house, or is it better not to?
There's no question there's that segment, right? But I also believe that people just tend to park in the street when they don't really need to. For convenience.
Their driveway is empty and they've got 3 cars.
3 cars on the, yeah, absolutely, because there may be 1 car in the garage that they want to make sure can get in and out, so they don't park in the driveway.
You know, I have a sort of contra view of that nobody agrees with me on, but I like the cars in the street because you have to stop, let the other person pass, and then you wave, and it might be somebody you know.
The only thing that I hear with that, I get that. I mean, the argument that I hear says is that sometimes you got a mismatch between a vehicle and a pedestrian. 2 vehicles I get, right, you know? But you've got a 2,000 to 3,000 pound vehicle against somebody who's mom with a 5-pound stroller, with a 2-year-old,
Or
1-year-old.
an 8-year-old on a bicycle.
Or an 8-year-old, it's just, there's a mismatch of things here, which is what I believe is the real policy challenge, is how do you deal with that?
So when I'm walking, I always just walk on the lawn if there's a car coming, and the reason is that's an easement, right?
Yeah.
And the city owns that, that's an easement for people.
We don't own it, we have access to it.
You have an easement on it.
Yeah,
You're
correct.
walking on my lawn.
Yeah.
All the cops.
No, they'll come out with, they'll say, meet my Smith and Wesson, you know? But so this is going, I'm sure it's gonna bubble up, but I think, you know, I believe that some of the areas we talk about is not everywhere throughout Nassau Bay. There are some, you know, there's not even 10% of the roads cause 90% of the problems. And how do we focus on those? And, you know, a lot of times, like Point Lookout, like Upper Bay Road, and even San Sebastian, because that has medians in there and things like that. You know, all the way as you go down to Cape Palm, those are bigger roads than the other roads. So we have the ability to use paint to be able to do some demarcation, and that's something we've already started talking about that I think makes the city look nicer too, that you have those.
I'm gonna say something about the crosswalks. So I think by Texas law, when you have a crosswalk, somebody steps in that crosswalk, it's an obligation of the driver to stop.
Absolutely.
We don't have a lot of that here.
Yeah, I've noticed that even walking across from the parking and,
We
you
don't.
know, out.
So that's a very important factor.
Yeah.
And we
I
go,
don't even think we have a lot of signage for crosswalks either.
no,
No.
But
So,
my biggest thing there is every time we seem to put in a paint a crosswalk, somebody from Centerpoint comes and does those orange markings across it and just screws it up. I mean, it's literally, whenever we do that, it comes in 2 months later, it's all painted over.
Your point about signage is good there.
Yeah.
Crosswalk, pedestrian right away.
Correct.
Something like that.
And if there's ever a place for one of those solar ones where it's lighted, and I even like the ones for a crosswalk, to your point, is where you have actually a little bit of a radar thing. Those aren't really that expensive, where if it detects, I'm not saying how fast, but if it detects motion, it comes on, so that as you approach a crosswalk, the light comes on.
a lot of times the Catholic Church, for example, I was real close to the Catholic Church, they have a lot of people using that crosswalk because of the parking situation.
Yep.
and we had kind of the same issue on, Space Park between Nassau Bay Drive and Point Lookout. If you remember, a lot of people were like, is it 2 or 4 lane? And so that's when we came through and put I think it was 5 feet off the curb, and we put that so everyone knows now, because some of the conversations was you're having people trying to pass somebody, and then you have a bicycle or a walker and they have to jump, on the curb and stuff. So yeah, that was one. So we repainted that, but that was one issue that we had about 10 years ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say is, I've got one, and I'll let you, if you wanna, do some of the things, but, you've heard us talk about the flock system.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know what I mean by the flock system, we now have an operational system, which is basically a license plate reader, for vehicles that come into Nassau Bay. And it's tied into the national database for anybody who has a warrant, any type of thing like that, where they're people we would want to identify coming into our city, so that the police know that, as well as, and we just had a success is, I forget exactly where in the town, but we had a vehicle stolen, and because we were tracking the license plate, we were able to, before 24 hours over, know where it was going, and we were able to recapture that stolen vehicle for
Here in
a
Nassau
citizen
Bay?
here in Nassau Bay.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's already done a winner.
Yeah.
And I look at it as, we're a small town, and we're generally ahead of most cities in regards to the tools we give to our policemen. This one, where others had beat us to this, so I'm really happy we're doing this, because it just allows people, any police officer in the field, to really know the alligator they're wrestling with before they do something, and really know, safety wise for their own protection. But it also gives the response time. And usually when people talk and identify a vehicle, they generally don't see the license plate number, right? They say, oh, it's a green Nova, or it's a, you know, SUV or whatever, blue, and then that allows us to be able to get the license plate, and then we can actually do other tracking, and it just enhances the ability of our police officers to do their job.
Could under search bar, could we put in flock system and it comes out?
Funny you say that, Jim. In fact, if you look at the Compass Rose coming out, there is a transparency portal at transparency.flocksafety.com/Nassau Bay, Texas PD.
Okay.
And you can actually do that.
Okay.
And I didn't do it justice, so it's like front page, it's right here, the last one.
Okay.
It's right there, and you can
That's
see
good.
exactly what it's there. So yes.
Let me ask you another question real quick, like, I don't know if you put an answer or not, but somebody has asked me, a business owner's asked me about the city going around to all these businesses, making sure that they have, I don't know, licenses.
Business registration.
That they actually registered their business with the
Yeah.
city, which is how we get state sales tax.
So how does it work with 1,100 buildings over there?
Yeah,
You got a chiropractor.
you mean the
I mean,
power towers? Is
yeah,
that
the
what
power
you're?
towers, yes, power towers, exactly, all three of them, right?
All three of them, yep, no powers, yep.
So exactly my chiropractors there. So there's no taxes on chiropractors.
So my understanding though is there's more to that. They have to show that they, have a fire inspection to make sure everything's there. There's a variety of things that when you register,
Safety issues.
that we have safety issues, right? And, if you look at it, and this is really mind-boggling. I don't have the most recent number, and I gotta give, you know, Officer Henderson, Perry Henderson,
Yeah.
who's our code enforcement. I'm taking a little bit of liberty here, but I think he's identified 500 businesses that we did not know existed and were operating in the city of Nassau Bay. So when you look at that from a standpoint of knowing what's going on there, you know, knowing the people who are there so that we have conversations or things along that line, making sure that it's operating safely has been a major enhancement for us. We should never be in a situation where there's 500 businesses that are unknown, or having a community here that if you're doing something a little bit nefarious, that they believe that nobody's looking. And now we are. So
So if you have a home business, let's say, probably most of those are, do you owe taxes? Is there, you have some obligation to the city?
So the primary focus is the commercial area. This is all done in the commercial. If you have, what I understand is the law, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that if you have a business out of your home, is yes, you have to register that with the state, because you have to pay all sorts of either state taxes or things along that line, depending on what type of business you are, as well as there's sales tax that are involved that will come to the city. Like if I use like an STR, there's two taxes. There's actually the sales tax on the revenue, and there's the hotel motel tax as part of that, all of which has to be registered so it's properly collected, because that is the law. As an example.
And so just to go off what the mayor said is that the fire inspection is done on one end of the law for fire inspection. And then you got the business registrations, which we're starting to hear, a lot about that. That's $100 every year. And actually, Perry just we've collected, from 300 businesses, the $100.
So it's $100 per year per business registered vehicle.
Yes,
correct.
yes. So in the 1,100 building, have to be everyone in that building.
Yep.
Yeah. So far, we've collected $30,000 according to.
And if you look at it, if you talk to the volunteer fire department, they're not so worried about the new places like the Methodist, but there's some of our older buildings that don't have the water systems hooks up that on either end, that knowing and having that fire inspection on some of these older buildings is beneficial.
Question on Flock. You said that we're only capturing cars that come in, is that right? To the city, and then the field of view is not big enough to capture those that go or outgoing?
I may have been casual with that. I mean, it'll do, it primarily does, I think it does, it has, so a lot of that is the point of direction of the camera.
Yeah,
And there are some.
well, that and the field of view.
And the field of view,
Zoom
correct,
and all that kind of
correct. My understanding is, it's generally done because you have most of your plates, but it also brings into consideration, front license plates. So that's been a big topic too. Thank you. It is not solely that, but it picks up a lot of the traffic is what's coming in, but it's also has a lot of the traffic going out. And maybe you can ask the chief to comment on that, but I believe we want to know those vehicles going out, because like, otherwise we would have never really known with a stolen vehicle, because that didn't,
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, my next question was going to be, if it was only incoming, and if FLOT must have statistics on the number of crimes that having incoming versus outgoing would be useful. In other words, there are situations where outgoing would be critical information.
I believe, my understanding is it does both. And I want to make mention of something is I want to, for something that's important like this, I want to give Glenn some real credit. About 4 or 5 years, don't get me exactly right as to the number, this was brought up by the police and we didn't have the funds to do it. And it was something that Glenn brought up that was, he actually wrote to all the council, and he realized that other cities had been doing this, and he asked us to reconsider to look at that. And it was really that nudge, because we had changed some things that we actually really focused on this. And this is a reality because of what you started. And I think y'all should know that. So.
And one thing I did leave off is that we're looking at pricing to install a gate at David Braun Park to lock it up at night. So we're looking at that. There's a lot of things going on. So hopefully that would help the park at night.
There's another beautification day coming March 30th. So if you want to help out the garden club, you want to help out the Parks and Recreation Committee, I know there's for students that are going to be out, helping out, but you can see how well they've done over the years. They've made a change as to the type of flowers and things like that that can handle freezes and droughts. So you can see the things, but they're doing. We've got with the freeze here, we've got some that need to be augmented. The event starts at 8:30 at David Braun Park Pavilion. And the first 100 volunteers will get a Nassau Bay Garden Club T-shirt. So you'll get a reward, and I think you get our first choice as to whether you want a shovel person, a planting person, or mulching person, or whatever. So that's on March 30th. Contact the folks there. I think it's on the website, so
yeah. It
doesn't give a number or things to call. You're right. So it says if you're interested in volunteering, please call Diana Clark. Not Clark Kent, she's a superwoman. So, but Diana Clark at 281-507-3387, and it'll be on the Compass Rose. So.
And the last thing I'd like to bring up, give a congratulations to Sergeant Jason Vane, Corporal Mike Cavazos, and Officer CJ Crider. They received Nassau Bay's Life-Saving Awards Council. So, and we have these out front. Y'all like to take one, but they were honored with Life-Saving Awards.
Paul, is that information put out to like the Bay Area communication? I think it's really important. Some of that information out beyond the city of Nassau Bay.
I'd have to check.
I don't think we do, Jim.
We should.
That's a good suggestion, because that's an easy thing to do. Yep.
Well, that's the website. Neighborhood has a lot of that.
I don't think we do anything more than internally for,
It should.
which is our website, Compass Rose. There's a couple other things on the Compass Rose that we've made a point that we will not consider anybody for a committee, open position on a committee that has not been posted either on our website or in the Compass Rose, because that's one, digital and hard copy going out to different people, whether they do internet or like it by mail. And we have a open position on our reinvestment zone and our RDA board, as well as the Animal Shelter Advisory Committee. There's a state requirement that we have a 5-member advisory committee for the animal shelter. I will tell you, and anybody who's listening, we've got a lot of activity in regards to the TERS and how we do redevelopment, particularly on in some of the old buildings at our Upper Bay and Space Park heading out towards Swan Lagoon. So that's actually going to be it's been kind of dormant because that was how we did the redevelopment with the town center, with the Griffin properties and things along that line. Well, this is now gonna take up that activity in regards to some of the older buildings in that area, and everyone knows what I'm talking about. So that is going to be happening really kicking off in this year and increasing in its activity as we go forward. The other is Can-Be. I think everyone sees the beautification they did in front of the post office, which I think is great. But also they honored as a founding member of Can-Be a personal friend of mine, and Ron Swafford. And
I missed that. That was
yeah, Ron no longer lives in Nassau Bay. He and Carol, when she was, she's passed away now, moved to assisted living because she had some health challenges. And this was in recognition, and the whole family came basically. So Diane and Steve, Swafford were there. I missed, Rob didn't come, but they were true neighbors of mine. We lived on the same street. It was really good to see Ron, and I just believe he's a class act and was, has done things, whether it's Can-Be, city council, committees, Galveston Bay Foundation. He is somebody who was good to see recognized. I know people who knew Carol was just a fun lady, and we miss her. The last thing that I'll have on here, I think you've done, let's see, is I understand there's some good news on the city election information, that the mayor is going to be unopposed coming there, as well as position 2 and position 6. We have one position that is going to be contested, which is James Abbey and Haley Ewell. So I take that as quite a compliment to council that there's as many unopposed positions as
So
there
can
are.
you take a second and just describe how that works?
How what works?
Well, how Haley and James are opposing each other, and how does that process?
Oh, it's very simple. It's a piece here, and people know I get soapy on this. It's our democratic process.
I know what I mean.
And so
You got 6 people.
starting on or about December 15th, you open up where people who have an interest can get an application, right? And on that application, if you are truly, going to run, you have to submit a variety of things that, state treasurer, a lot of just information necessary for vetting that you actually are a citizen of the United States, all the things along that line. And that window opens up on or about January 15th. And then on or about February 15th, and it was the 16th, you either have to have that paperwork submitted that's notarized and in the hands of our city secretary no later than 5 p.m. on the last day, and, you know, you define which position you're running for. So it's actually a very simple process.
So that person defines what position.
Yeah, it is based off the personal initiative of somebody who wants to be part of your local governance.
So they pick one of.
Correct.
Any of the councilors.
So if I look at it, James Abbey, which we all know is the incumbent. Haley could have run for mayor, could have run for position 2, 4, or 6, and she chose to run for position 4. And that was solely the discretion of the individuals who want to represent you as Joe and Josephine Nassau Bay. I'm sorry.
I have one more question. Is there any chance we're ever gonna get a grocery store here?
I hope so. I mean,
A Walmart market would be perfect.
so my understanding is the stores are going to more and more of these superstores. I mean, if you look at HEB as an example, you know, they closed down the one that was the closest here. Now they're up there just off of in between Berry Boulevard and El Dorado, you know, off the freeway, and that's a mega store, right? What I've heard, and there's some people in here who's even mentioned it, is about you know, some of these micro groceries where you actually have some very limited selection, but some breadth of items. So it's you know,
Like a Walmart bar.
so yeah, so there's that activity going on, but I hate to, because I don't want people to think I am not aware of any of the stores. I know there was a big drive to try to get in a Trader Joe's where people rode in to try to do something, but I have no information to say that there's any active, you know, plans to locate a grocery store. And it's something that I know is an interest to people.
Chris Reed went on this campaign a long time ago trying to find small players.
Yeah. I mean,
So Nick Arlen told me what happened when Garland was here. And it left when the part of the Balboa burned down. The reason is just rooftops. How many people live here?
Correct.
Not enough people live in Nassau Bay to support
Right.
a grocery store.
They have families, big families. It went to a retirement community about that time.
well, I actually think right now we have the largest growth of young families coming in the history of Nassau Bay. I mean, I was part of the group that came in like 1995, like 30 years ago. And, you know, you'd be surprised with how many young families have come in the last 5 years in Nassau
All
Bay.
of my neighbors are young.
Yeah, so I mean, you can, some of that's why I'm so insistent I want to upgrade the playgrounds, because it's important. And I can say I'm a sandwich family where we watch a little grandson as well as you know, my wife's mom. So you've got, you know, grandparents and great grandparents that want to use the parks for their grandchildren. And I think that's something more new here. And I think part of that is as we're creating better access to our parks. And I think that's been helpful. And I know people, the Baptist Church, the Catholic Church, and the Gloria Dei Church have told me that they get from their congregations, they feed in that people come to Nassau Bay and they take their kids to our playground on a Sunday get together. So, you know, I think it's great because that means people coming in with young families see our town, and we put our town on display, and a lot of people move here. So I think it's a good person. So, yeah.
So is that enough to overcome the fact that we're sinking, the ocean's rising, and that in general, we're in a precarious position?
All you need is more power. You know? But no, I mean, if I look at it as, you know, and time will tell, is nobody would have thought we would have had Harvey so close after Ike, right? I mean, if you look at the things we've been usually in a 10, 15 year cycle for a hurricane, and we went to like a, you know, 7-year cycle.
And in general, from what I've read, say the Wall Street Journal, that is reducing property values in areas near the water.
Well, we've actually seen the opposite here, is I think, so here's a good piece of, because I'm a data guy, is, at the end of this year, we'll have raised 89 homes, which is almost 1 out of 10. And it will be 1 out of 10 when the 16 or so that were in it get added to the 89. So we truly will have over 100 homes that were vulnerable that have been put out of harm's way.
And that's great, and that brings me to my actual purpose for being here, which is, I understand that along on the 146 corridor, there's some kind of subsidy or some reason they don't pay as much windstorm insurance as we do. And we see that we're getting everybody out of the flood, but the windstorm just keeps going up and up and up. And I don't see any.
I know that's the case a lot. I haven't heard that there's been that we are at a disadvantage for that. I mean, I would be hard pressed to believe that the folks on Kemah and Seabrook who forward face Galveston Bay would have less of an insurance than Nassau Bay, which is, they've got to go through all that in order to get to us. And there's it's our water surge levels during catastrophic storms is less here at, call it the Cove or right there on where the Hilton is than Galveston Bay.
And it's the windstorm.
Yeah, and you're talking the wind, yeah, but I mean, I don't have any data on that, but I'll find out. That's an interesting one. That's the first I've heard that, Phil. So I
was thinking of calling Larry Taylor.
Yeah.
He would be the guy that would know, right?
Yeah, he would, or, Ralph Farid would also know. So he's Harris County, Ralph. Yep. Those, Larry or Ralph would be really good. I'll find out. That's a new one for me, so I don't.
So the ultimate goal is there some legislative path that we can take that would help us?
Okay, anything else? What else? We've been just ratcheting off.
I got one for you. You know the origin of the grenade statue in front of the 1120 building?
The grenade statue?
Yeah.
I do not.
Okay. Well, there you go.
So. So you're adding to my curiosity.
Have you seen it?
I have.
That 5-foot grenade statue?
So that's in between, there's 3 pieces of artwork for each of the buildings, if I remember. And one of them is a grenade.
With the man's face on it.
Well, I don't remember that, but
I mean, it looks like it's a war.
Yeah, memorial.
But there's no sign.
So do you know the background?
No.
Oh, then I'll find out.
I took some, it's a great place to take
What's up
pictures.
with the grenade statue?
Yeah, it's a great place to put your kids for a photo op.
Have you tried to Google it? Very good.
But it's been there a while, because it's.
Oh, it's been there. It's gotta be 40 years plus. Yep. Glenn, anything else?
One question I just thought of, the city's always doing a lot of concrete work, right?
Yep.
Is there any precedent at all that, and across Nassau Bay, there's a lot of people doing concrete work as well?
Mm-hmm.
With driveways and droughts and cracks and, the rest of it. Is there any precedent for, piggybacking or for homeowners taking advantage of pricing advantage that the city might have?
Yeah, so actually during the street projects, we put out to the residents and the contractors, you could reach out to them and hopefully get a good price because they're already mobilized. And so we've done that, with all our big, projects, concrete projects, and we've probably seen about 10 new driveways, and they gave them really good prices.
I hadn't seen that advertisement.
I don't think it has been.
Yeah,
I know Gloria Day with the work there, they have another place which is totally on there, they're piggybacking, so it's something we do, but it's probably not well publicized, Glenn, so that's a good idea.
So where would one, is it calling Public Works to get the information, or where?
Yeah, so
Could it
right.
be communicated in one of the future newsletters?
Yeah, so we could, during the project, we would do that. We don't have a big concrete project going on right now, and I think by law, we can't really advertise for another, but we do talk to them when we're doing handout flyers, and we said, just get with the contractors, and it's a private contract between them. And sometimes we've had contractors that didn't like to do that, only because they was afraid it was gonna slow up their work on the city side.
We haven't done it yet, but I'm a proponent, like somebody mentioned, like we have easement. If you look at our curbs, where there's the handoff between that corner that goes into the driveway into the curb on the street, when it's done by two different people, it always fails. It just not good. I'd love for the city for that first section of a driveway that, since our easement, that we just take care of that whole curb area as well as the things there as part of repair. That's just not been our design. We don't have the money for that.
Yeah, and
But I
usually
would like to do that if I could find out how.
yeah, the resident's responsible for the first, I think it's 24 or 18 inches like that. And then the city takes over after that. And it's typically, we get a lot of them driveway approaches hit, they get hit by the resident, right, that's living there.
Correct.
And so we kind of put it back on them. Or else we'd be pouring a lot of driveway approaches, curbs, but,
We'll get a chance to look further into that drain basin that's literally a foot from that concrete was busted up right next to that 36-inch line basin and my driveway.
they, yeah.
It's literally
Getting real provincial now.
Yeah, they're looking at all that. And actually, we're looking at 2 other areas that's holding water. We're trying to maybe extend some drain lines.
We've got about 6 or 7 more spots that we need to do.
Yeah.
Just so you know, guys, we've done probably in fact, I know more than 60 major spots throughout the city, and it shows. So, yeah, we've got
like 7 on the, that we're already recording, so.
Yep.
On concrete.
Yep. Okay. It's 10:20, going once, going twice. Thank you. Thank you.
No, with Ireland,